If it's
Right.
okay, Michael, let me get into the hemispheres because it's really important.
Sure.
And then I also, just before I do that, I just really quickly want to show this diagram because it explains, oops, am I getting there? It explains the relationship between showing up and our roles. The more
Sure.
you
So, so,
show up,
so,
the more
so
you're,
for people that
yeah.
that are listening, it's a bar, a spectrum essentially going from the left red to the green right, and on the left is barely there for yourself, and the middle is just showing up, and then the green is truly showing up for your life and for others.
Right. And on the left side, we're in not just our self on the green, truly showing up. We're in not just our self role. We're also deeply in our situational role, attuning, present, showing up to it, knowing it's showing up to us, and we're also connected with intent to serve. So that's our societal role. We're in all three of our roles with all three of our skills, and then on the what's really important about this version of the show up continuum is that it shows on the left side when you're barely there, there's a self focus. Your mirror is facing you, and that's all that matters. It's just you. You're separate from, you're fractured, you're divided, you're isolated, you're lonely. I mean, maybe there's depression, there's anxiety, there's illness, whatever it may be. You're burned out. So that's barely there. It's only your self role. As you move through just showing up, you're noticing others and the more that's out there. You're noticing the environment. You're starting to care. You're
Right.
starting to tune in. And then you move into the green, which is feeling with and then enacting care. So that's really important. And that's how it moves. Um,
Yeah, I think a
Now,
lot of this is very difficult. Like I don't think any of this is easy because sometimes we really don't want to show up. We don't have the energy to show up.
right.
And I think at least for me sometimes like my instinct for sometimes is no. I don't want to do that. I don't like it's easier to just not do these things. And for me and maybe for other people sometimes when there's something that I get the feeling that I probably should do, I think of the people that I know love me the most and that I love them, and I think of well how would they expect or like me to act. A big
Mm,
driver for me in a lot of social situations, at least,
yeah.
is my grandfather who passed several years ago. But and I think of what would he in this do in this situation? What
Yeah.
like how would he like me to be to this person or to these people? And it helps inform a lot of my decisions. Like it wouldn't really show up, let's say in a business deal. It would be because it would be like this is something else. But he would also want me to be ethical, to be kind, to be
Right.
honest, and all of these things. And so it can bleed into other factors. And so many times where I didn't want to do something, or let's say I said I was going to go to some birthday I don't want to go to anymore. I think, well, I gave my word I was going to go, and shit, that means that I have to go. And so I don't know. Maybe there's another way for people to find a north star for them to show up
Hmm.
as their best self, and
Yes.
I think they should use that. I don't know what that is for them, but that's what tends to work for me.
That is so beautiful. I was just on a podcast yesterday it was a mental health podcast with a gentleman out of South Africa where there's a lot of, grief. And he said the same thing. He said it was his grandmother who helps him to truly show up. And really what the two of you are doing is you're turning your self mirror outward because what you're doing is feeling that person. You're feeling with that person and you're enacting care for that person. So you see how now you're in the green, level 3, truly showing up because you're not just an isolated self. You're within the situation. That person is alive for you right now. As you think about my integrity, my word, the kindness you said, right? The kindness with which that person wants you to show up for others. So you have enacted care now for your grandfather in this moment with how you show up to your situation and to others. So notice how your self role is not just self, it's situation, and it's the more that's out there, which is your grandfather. It also makes you ask, like, what is death? Because your grandfather's with you, right? just like in nature, because this is nature's model, right, of how humans are designed to show up. You know, a leaf that might start as a bud, right? There's a branch first. First, there's no bud, and then there's a bud, and then the bud becomes a leaf. Now it's the end of autumn, and the leaf falls down, and it's crinkly and dry. And over time, it becomes dust and dirt, and it fortifies the soil and becomes the nutrition for the tree, right? So death, like nature, relentlessly kills itself and regrows, right? So the example of our elders in us, that's the cycle. He's in you, and he'll always be in you. And therefore he's in how you show up. So he's going to be in your friends. He's going to be in your offspring if you choose to have them. He's going to, right?
Right. Well, and I think it also speaks to how you were saying that we all affect one another, because it's this, how we affect other people and act towards other people, I think stays with them over time. And I think if I had someone on the podcast not too long ago who was, he almost planned a school shooting, and he tells a story of his entire life and never went through with it, and how awful his upbringing was, how abusive his parents were, how neglectful they were, how violent they were. And the way that he was able now to show up for other people, and he gives talks to, federal enforcement agencies and all these things, is that it seems like he thinks for what people that love him gave to him, and that was only one or two friends he still had available. So I think it just has to be, if you can't find enough people in your life that have showed you enough kindness and love, I think maybe we have to look towards the people that we love and look towards that as like a fuel. Yeah. And then it can go out from there. But I think that's why these things are so difficult, because I think we become so isolated and so disconnected from each other. And it's hard to invest and think that we're worthy, that people want us to be there, that we will make a difference, that we will show up. But I think we'll all make gigantic differences in the lives of the people that we touch.